I just had to get on that plank for a bit because, again, and I'm glad that you used that, Robert Timmons reference because, again, that is the context. It's like, at what point do women have to be responsible for
At no point.
their dishonor and disrespect?
Never.
Then
women can do no wrong. Haven't you heard?
well, but see, that's where I go. That's an actually untenable argument. Like you can't make that argument and have the proper biblical complementary relationship in a
then
marriage.
the Bible's wrong, don't you know?
Wrong.
That's why the Bible's oppressive and all those other things.
Well, I don't know that I've ever felt that within my own circle, at least, luckily. But I have, unfortunately, even in my own circle, felt and experienced the kind of brief frustrations of Robert Timmons going, oh, is that the way you think of me? Okay, well then let's just kind of deal with that right now. It's...
You go back and you read Shakespeare when women called their husbands Lord. I'm like, well, this would never fly today. The concept of being the master of the house, regardless of your financial status, it doesn't matter if you're poor, you are still the master of the house.
Right.
And the idea that you'd be addressed as that, it's like, well, who do you think you are? The guy who owns the house. But of course you can't say that either because then that's, I don't know, controlling or manipulative or whatever. How did he already get you down once with nothing?
He literally, I have no idea. I was walking towards him to try to deal with him, and he said nay. I don't think I'm going to deal with keeping you alive, Booth. I think we're just going to kill you, just like we did
I'm
with
not
that guy.
overly fond of him.
Okay, you and your weird berserker men over here.
I don't want to do this yet. I forgot he's one of these guys. Oh, he's going to give you the stank eye as he walks away. And then he's going to teleport into the next dimension. Oh, he's going to leave his goons behind, though. That's nice.
I don't know. That's just my 2 cents worth. It's if we want to actually fix this thing, yes, men can't abdicate.
The question is, do women want to fix this thing?
Well, that is the question.
I have the answer.
Men certainly don't. Men certainly can't walk away from their responsibility to spend the mental energy and the emotional energy to actually engage the conversations. However, women have to then actually be willing to take responsibility for the things they can shift. And if they don't do that, then that's where we are at an impasse because men cannot pull all of the weight all at once. We will try for a time, but then we will end up failing, and then that's when either bitter resentment sets in or bitter I'm now going to completely 180 and say screw you after having, a man say, an entire community say, I don't know, like he was such a good guy, like I don't know where this came from, and now all of a sudden he's gone off the rails. Well, it came from years of not actually expressing honest truth. So here's the thing. I do think that we need to have those honest conversations and have the stones to be able to have them. Because if you keep them pent up, then eventually they will come out and it will be in the worst way. Whether it be infidelity or whether it be some sort of in Robert Timmons' case, I'm being a little bit overly harsh as I say something. But it's like at some point it has to be said. So I'd much rather just say it and say, you know what? I don't appreciate the way I'm being spoken to. So if you could kindly climb out from down. What does he say?
I'm not going to say it on here.
Anywho.
Well,
I told you I was going a little bit. Also, separate, this is a very, floaty topic, so if you have another one, then we can go that direction first.
Well, mine, I don't have anything else of substance.
Well, this is not of substance at all. There's nothing substantive about this.
Okay.
I hate Allen wrenches with a passion.
But
And-
you have
and-
bad ones? Because a good Allen wrench
As
is a
an-
good Allen wrench.
As an engineer, explain to me.
Don't
why,
buy them from Harbor Freight, I'll tell you that much.
Well, explain to me why the Allen is a useful tool in any context. Because the shape in that I see is you have one of the worst heads in order to strip out any screw.
Well,
with-
see, now that's just bad quality. That's why,
Okay.
again, because I bought a pair of Allen wrenches from, I was almost like Goodwill or something. Like, it was some crappy trash piece of nothing. And they were so soft that it was like you used them once and they just bent and stripped, and it was like, well, this is useless. I imagine a decent set of Allen wrenches is going to not do that, and a decent screws will also not do that. I will say, though, if you're interested in making your life easier, then what you need is just a set of Allen sockets, which
But
you can
do
just
that-
attach to a socket
to a
wrench.
ratchet?
Yeah,
'Cause
just attach it to a socket wrench, but they have Allen heads. Because the
for
main
a
issue,
tiny little like 6 mil.
well, probably not. They probably don't. Well, maybe on a 1/4-inch drive. I've never actually looked into how many sizes are available. Could be. Chances are, though, if you have a socket, if you have an Allen's head that small, then chances are you're not going to be cranking.
No, that's
Like,
true.
The
but
main
point
issue I
is-
have with Allen wrenches is they're not convenient if you have to twist them a lot.
Well, but that's the point.
So that's why the
They're
socket
always
makes sense.
They're always in a spot where you cannot rotate them all the way around, and there's nobody that makes that small of an Allen that actually has the ratcheting feature.
Well, okay, how small are you talking, though? Because if
I'm
you're talking
like
about...
IKEA furniture level, like
No, see, that's not that small.
and
I thought you were talking about like watch style
No,
heads,
no,
where
no,
it's
I'm
like
not
you're talking
talking
about
about
a
that.
needle thickness of a wrench. It's like chances are, if you're dealing with one of those, you're not going to have to be twisting it that much. If you had a set of Allen sockets, I'm confident that you could build IKEA furniture with that. That would, and in fact, that's precisely why you should get a pair of those. My dad and I had to build something with that had Allen wrenches, and it was an awful ramp type thing, it's like a wheelchair style ramp, and having to crawl underneath this thing and try to get an Allen key up into a weird crevice. And it's like, and I literally for Christmas that year, I was like, here's a set of Allen sockets, because we both had to endure that. Because we were talking about it, I'm going, there's sockets that do this, because I'm having to sit here underneath this thing lying on a bed of gravel, having to make like an eighth of a turn at a time.
yeah.
So I don't disagree
That's what
that
I mean, like,
the
whoever it
actual
is-
wrench,
was just invented by Indian. When I have a wrench that's like a specialty tool that I have to have like zero tolerance for because it's like a corner piece or something that like, okay, I have to actually work this within the bolt is in a weird spot, fine. But
well, a
Allen
socket
wrenches
would be able to do that, though.
But Allen wrenches have always made no sense to me because every single one I've dealt with, you have to refit it to the screw each time you turn it.
Well, yeah.
And it's like a quarter turn,
Well, that's
maybe,
why the socket is the way to go.
which is not always.
I think they exist in the sizes you're describing. IKEA ones are not that small. Now, the main issue with it is it's stupid to use them for long screws, because having to twist them that many times is stupid. If it is just stick it in here and twist it 3 times, then that's fine.
To the Dark Lord. I
Yeah.
will set it right
Ar Baruch.
and put you in the ground for good. This is the end for you. I will decorate the landscape with your insides.
I can't. What? Feels like everybody wanted to take a turn to say something. I don't think, not to put too much of a damper, I don't think you're going to be able to take on all 3 of these guys. Okay, well, you didn't have to prove my point. So, good on you, Fort Hog. I gotta love the fact that he just wails on people with a lute. Good on you, bro. He's just a Viking that showed up in the wrong game. Well. Oh! Well, I don't feel like we deserve the credit for that, but okay. So yeah, get yourself a set of Allen sockets. It's a good idea. Don't miss.
Oh. Tars. It's always Tars. Well, that was my only other one. Was I really hate Alan?
Yeah, well.
Whoever he is, he needs to die a slow and.
Well, he's
painful
probably
death.
dead by now. They've been around a long time. Yeah. Well, now you know.
But I mean, in what ways are they superior to like Phillips or Minus?
Well, that I don't know why. If you have the right size Allen for the right size head, they actually fit snugly and don't have issues. The problem is, I feel like a lot of the heads, and because everybody has like 8 different Allen wrenches from 8 different IKEA pieces, and they're not exactly sized. Whereas if you have like the exact size head required for the exact bolt, then it fits just fine, and you don't get the slipping and the stripping. And again, if you have it on a socket, you can just spin it freely without having to reseat it every time. As for why they exist, I mean, I don't know. Why does any head other than a Phillips exist? But Prack Jungle Rot, I forgot about you.
You gotta get the jungle rot.
I want to get that jungle rot in me.
You want it in you? On you, that was one thing, but in me, I don't know about that.
I don't think rot is just a thing on the surface. Rot requires commitment.
I feel as though my life in Mordor has been much longer than any other I lived.
This is but a moment.
You know I'm right. Wood rot isn't on the surface. Wood rot goes deep.
Don't say that. First he was a swack, now he's a, I don't know.
STD. Well, I'm just saying. I didn't think I knew a sailor who had jungle rot.
Way up atop the mast.
I
I'm sorry.
continue
it just
that.
Went itself.
Once I had the jungle rot way up atop the mast. Well, I mean, you don't want it anywhere else, I guess. Shall we fulfill the third law?
And discuss Arcane again? Sure.
I'm curious, if only because you seem to have engaged the online discourse more with Season 2 than you did originally.
Yes, that's true.
So I'm curious what your thoughts are on it. That's quite the alarm.
Well,
that was
I
almost a
already
comic
said-
book sort of
You
alarm.
said one thing that has been a bit of a nuisance to me is
That's all the Vi people, yes, of course.
is dealing with all the weird Victor
Oh,
chase
yes.
ships. I'm like, no, stop it right now.
Well, sure. I'll get. But I'm curious, have you how I don't know if you even engaged with this part of the debate of the whether or not, and I can't remember if we've even discussed it because I've thought about this so much, I can't remember if it was just me thinking or if I've actually discussed it with someone else. And by someone else, it would have to be you. It wouldn't have been anyone else. The question of quality and whether or not it improved or disimproved.
Ooh, in the second season?
Yeah,
I thought it improved. Specifically when it comes to
I think you're in a
music
minority. Well, music was good.
and when it comes to the
Scoon.
I don't know.
It seemed funny at first, but the more I think about it, the more I'm like, Scoon. What jokes can you make with that?
Not any that are appropriate.
Scoon. Yeah.
Nice night for a schoon hunt.
I mean, well.
Yeah, that's yeah. Now you know my dilemma. I think that outside of the weird push with Vi and Caitlyn, the rest of
I
the
didn't
actual
feel like that was as
body of-
weird. I felt like that was always going to happen.
It was, but it was not. They didn't need to make it such a centralized part of the.
I don't think it was that
But
centralized.
outside of that, well, to have an entire 3-minute song be useful is a little.
Well, okay. Well, don't worry. But that's not centralized. I feel like saying that there's one 3-minute scene that didn't need to be in. It's like, okay.
Sure.
It doesn't mean it was centralized.
But
It's like saying, yeah, well, I don't know where I was going to go, actually.
But I feel like the way that everybody else was developed in second season was far more robust, in my opinion.
Well, but is that just because they're carrying on from where they left off?
No, because because Victor specifically had a fairly.
Well, he was carrying on
Thin
from where he
and
left off.
It was yes, but it was fairly non-fleshed out in season 1.
I don't.
They did a lot
fully-
of fleshing out.
Well,
in season
okay.
2.
I mean, I'll agree, only because I knew where he was going to go. I knew where he had to end up because of the game.
Sure.
So I can understand how you'd say that, but I think if you didn't know he was in the game and how he is in the game, I don't think you'd have thought of him as an underdeveloped character in Season 1. I thought he was a very well-developed character in Season 1.
Well, there was nobody that was poorly developed, certainly.
Well, here's the question, because
I think I'm in the minority in that, huh?
well, certainly I think.
Are you not in agreement with it?
I don't think it got better. The question that everyone seems to agree is the difference is how much worse did it get? And some people,
I would argue it did not.
a very small
Certainly
minority of
maintained.
people are of the opinion that it got way worse, and I think these are all Caitlyn and Vi fans who don't like the fact that the second season made them less perfect characters.
Maybe.
But I would disagree with those people because I think they were always the way they were, and it's just that it didn't show. I forgot where I'm going. I'm looking for a guy. Here he is. He's on the other side of the mountain. Okay, bye. I'm in the wrong place, fellas. Then there's people who are like, well, it got a little worse.
In what way, I suppose I would...
Well, it's a difficult thing to describe. I would say there were certain elements of Season 2 that didn't... it's a difficult thing because of the fact that it's a sort of nebulous, it's a Gestalt kind of thing where it's like you can't point to a thing that's wrong. The pieces don't fit quite so perfectly, it feels like. And so, I haven't heard anyone try to claim that Season 2 was better than Season 1.
For me, it was.
But is that just subjective? Because
not
it's like,
purely
well,
a
the
Victor
characters I liked got more screen
it's
time.
not purely a Victor thing. I think I
Well, music,
appreciated the
music, I suppose, I could agree that the music in Season 2 is better, but that doesn't.
I also
make the
think
show.
that
It's a part of the show, but it isn't the only thing that matters. Certainly,
the maturity, maybe I could say, of Jinx becoming a little bit more herself.
I appreciated that.
That
but
part
was
cool. He's a
Prac.
pirate.
Oh, Jungle
literally-
Rot, right, I
this is
forgot
the
about
Jungle
Jungle.
Rot. I love the fact that he's literally just straight up
Long John Silver.
he's a cook. He is a scallywag.
No. Let's see what he can wag. Wag that Jungle Rot.
Traitor you've got hiding in our ranks. The search is tedious and annoying, but I will find him.
What is that? Oh, we got another Teddy Roosevelt on our hands. No, please. It just occurs to me, I probably shouldn't be fighting you on the ice. Punch him in the butt. I've been poisoned. Ooh, I have been massively poisoned. I need to okay, that's gonna take too long. I was gonna grab his health from his noggin. I don't think fighting on ice is wise, fellas. I am going to hurt myself. I can't finish my thought because pickles.
It's because
Get
his
brain.
face.
Get his brain. Get his brain. Stay away from my brain. Can I get him? Yay! Prick, prack, jungle, whack.
You wish of me, wish of me.
I wish of you to take a bath.
Oh, did you tell him to spy?
Is he not already a spy? I'm pretty sure he is. He is. Infiltrate. Well, hang on. How do
Yeah,
I tell him to
that's-
infiltrate?
That was X.
Oh, did I not? Oh, whoops. Can I do that still?
I believe so.
Okay, good. No! Okay, good. There you go. Go give your master jungle rot, or whatever. Alright, fellas, my business here is done. What do you think got better then? Because
So yes, the
because
music for sure. I would say.
but I guess the question then is: are you analyzing it on a writing level?
Yes.
But well, okay, but to say, well, I like that this character got a certain development. It's like, okay, but is it written as well?
Yes, I don't think you can discount the fact that they are working off of a game that does not have real developed narrative.
That isn't entirely true.
It is for the most part.
They're
having to make narrative make sense.
Well, no, there was
Retroactively.
a fair bit of stuff that already existed. Crimp.
Crimp the Gambler, he looks like a freaking pirate.
Well,
What is with this island being a weird?
Well, I'm fine with
See
it.
what happened? It was a weird.
I'm fine with this pirate area. This is totally cool with me. Hello, fellas. Because it's not a matter of saying, well, the fact that they developed something out of something with source material that it didn't have much to go off of, because that doesn't necessarily mean that what they developed was good. But my point is, what I wouldn't disagree with, generally speaking, is that there's a difference between the content of writing and the way it's written. And I feel like the content is good in Season 2 in that the characters get arcs that feel satisfying to them most of the time. But I do think that the pieces don't mesh as well. And I'm going to have to use vague language like that because, again, it isn't like, oh, this was a bad scene. It's mostly like, yes, all the scenes are individually good, but in the first season, they put together a bunch of good scenes and they created something greater than the sum of their parts. And I feel like in the second season, there was a little bit less of that. But I don't know. I'm curious... Have I made the distinction, or do I not make sense?
No, I mean,
Because you're just saying, well, okay, this character developed in a way that I thought I liked. It's like, well, okay, but that's just
purely objective. I think that the way in which they developed each individual character to contribute to the whole, like even the side characters, I would say what's her face, Caitlyn's then mentor later on.
She is far from a side character. She's arguably the villain of the second season.
Maybe.
Arguably. Basically the villain. I mean, the only other person you could call a villain is technically Victor for half of it.
Well, yeah, that's probably true. I think that there was a lot. So, okay, one, I suppose, caveat that I will give to this statement is psychologically, I think it was less rich than the first season.
Well, that's an interesting claim, and I wouldn't even necessarily disagree with it. But what do you mean?
But as far as production value, I think that the production value went up in the second season. So psychologically, I would say it was not as rich.
But see, that's what I'm getting at when I talk about writing, because arguably you can only achieve psychological significance via good writing.
Yes. I did feel like there were not shortcuts. There were definitely.
See, there you go. This is what everyone else is saying. It kind of thinks.
There were definitely areas where I went. You can tell the writers went, let's insert some sort of montage here because this will take up time and it fits. It never felt disjointed or shoehorned, but they certainly did take more license with that in the second season.
I wouldn't disagree.
Like, for instance, case in point, when she fixes Kavika's arm and then they have an entire sequence of fighting and things like that. It's like, okay, sure.
Well, no, there's a fight. The fight isn't a montage right after that.
It's kind of it's a full song montage.
Well, yeah, but it's a fight.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying it's
a fight with a song. That's not the first time they've done fights with songs.
No.
It doesn't skip the fight. It shows you the full fight.
Right.
Now, I'll tell you, the montage that did kind of bother me was the beginning of episode 4, where it's like, finally, there's, the Undercity's rebelling. And then it was done. And they lost. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought this is what we were going to... I thought this was the arc we were going on. Was like, this is the revolution arc. And then by the end of the first montage, it's over, and they've already lost. And I was like, oh, okay. I wanted to see more of that. You're touching on what most other people will agree on, which is that there felt a little bit like some things could have been lingered on more.
Yeah, that's it.
Because here's my take. I am of the opinion that the first season was literally perfect. And I do mean that genuinely. Like, I don't think you could have improved the first season with any amount of tinkering. And I don't know if you agree with that or not. But that's my opinion. So when I say that I think the second season's not as good as the first, that's not really criticism. I mean, it is strictly speaking, but it's like, okay, you're not quite as tall as Mount Everest. That's not anything to be ashamed of. It's still what I would call a phenomenal thing. Writing, production, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I can at least think of ways it could be improved. Shall I read it for you? Or play it?
Well, I mean, I'd be interested to know what, if you could maybe choose one or two things.
Well, if I could choose one thing, I'll tell you the one thing, because there is one thing I think would be an objective improvement, which if you gave me the power to rewrite history, I would have made this one change, and it is a single line, and by single line I mean a single word change that I would make. And that should tell you how pedantic I'm being. I've got Elven Rage, but I don't have anything I want to rage at.
I have an idea of what it would be.
What do you think it's going to
be?
Because I may have already told you. I can't remember.
Well,
just take a shot. No harm in being wrong. I don't even know what I'm doing.
No, I mean, there's a... I had an idea for a moment. It was a...
You don't have it anymore?
No, I lost it a bit. I mean, it was it's a line that's delivered from Jinx. Am I not?
Well, okay, but that hardly takes insight.
No, that's true.
Where's the thing I'm going towards? I chose a quest, didn't I?
Yeah, I don't know that I had the thought in totality. It was not
okay. Well, because this isn't the only change I would make. Okay, so it is here. Oh, he's in a different area. Okay, well, I'm not going to do that yet. I thought he was in this area. So I guess what I'm doing now is I just got to do the same thing, and we're going to pick some guys, and we're going to take on the fortress, which means let's see. Skak is a bodyguard. He's got a brother. Ooh, Prak and Skak are both bodyguards to this guy. This is the other bodyguard. Ooh, he's high level. I'll kill him, and then we'll take out the other guy. In episode 5, there's the one. It's a single line of dialogue, and I would only change one word in that line. So you can, but I think you'll agree with my semantic. It would change the tone of the line, and thus all the subsequent scenes. When they're in the tunnels, searching for Vander, and Vi asks her, "Why did you bother coming to get me?" And Jinx says, essentially, the last time he needed our help, we went separately, and nothing was ever the same. And then what she says after that line I think is perfectly fine. The line she says after that is, "Besides, he's your father too." And the only thing I would change in that line is I would not have her say 2 in that moment. And I think you could agree that that would be a very subtle but nonetheless significant change in terms of...
Well, certainly her loyalties.
Well, because the issue that I took with it, and again, this
Some people have actually
this could
argued-
be my own Silco apologistics coming out. I feel like it kind of shows her as moving on from Silco too quickly. Because he's basically just died. And yes, she has the moment where she's essentially like, I have to let you go. Which I agree is actually a very mature sequence. And I think that that's interesting. But it still feels like, I don't know. It bothered me when I first heard it. And I think I would have just removed that because what it communicates is she's essentially saying, obviously the first half of it is saying, obviously there's a kind of longing for what was lost.
Right.
And so it's just, she's basically saying exactly like, essentially wishing they had a chance to do it over again.
Well, but there's also an embracing, if you did change the line, there's an embracing of the inability to go back.
Yes, but it's also, I think, it would showcase a hesitancy where it's like, she doesn't consider herself part of that family anymore.
Yeah.
She doesn't consider Vander to be her father anymore.
Yeah.
So she's saying to Vi, he's your dad, implying obviously that he's not hers. And then, because I think that's all it would take to communicate just a little bit of hesitancy, which makes sense for them at that moment because they wouldn't be like, hunky-dory. They did just try to kill each other only a few weeks prior.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, a little bit of separation probably still makes sense. And then I think that sequence contains a lot of other hints that if that one dialogue was changed, I think those hints would shine a little better. Specifically the fact that when they find Vander and Silco's uniforms on the wall in the office, and she goes to Silco's instead of Vander's, when Vi finds the note and sees that it's addressed to Silco, she literally walks away from it. And when Jinx hears that it's addressed to Silco, she goes towards it.
Yeah.
And then once she's finished reading it, there's a moment and when you can kind of see like Vi almost goes to reach out and like put her hand on her shoulder, but then she doesn't. She sort of pauses and then turns away. So it's like if that one line was changed and then all of the rest of these things show a kind of disconnect, but also a slight like, okay, we're at least open to the idea of reconciling.
Yeah.
Even though we don't feel like we can exactly. And then the reason I think it would come full circle in the end is when they actually find Vander and Vi says to her, he's your father too. I think that would be more impactful if it wasn't her just mimicking what Jinx said previously. Because what it becomes, if the line was different, it becomes, he's your father. No, he's your father too. Saying you don't have to be excluded anymore if you don't want to be.
Yeah.
It's not like you can't, or at least don't let me stop you kind of.
Yeah.
And then I think it would make their reunion feel a little bit more like it wasn't just, oh, they're together again. And so that is literally, if I was given the chance, I would make that one change because I can argue that it would be objectively superior. There are other changes I think could have been made, but that I'm not sure I'd be qualified to make if I was given the power. So that's the only one I would change if I could rewrite history. The others, well, okay, there's half of one because it's a rumor. There are rumors that the scene at the beginning of episode 9 between Echo and Jinx was longer originally. And they discussed whatever they discussed more, which kind of would, I think, explain Jinx's transformation at in the finale.
Yeah.
Well, no, after that.
Oh, gotcha.
Now, so if there was an extended version of that scene and they cut it out, and I had the power to rewrite history, I would have just put it back in.
Sure.
If that scene doesn't actually exist, I'm not sure I'm qualified to write it.
Yeah.
So My caveat on that one would be I would just put it back if it does exist, but I wouldn't write it myself if it didn't. The only other change I think could have been made is I think whatever the weird dude, the enforcer dude that Vi hangs out with, seems like he was intended to have a lot more of a character arc than he did. It feels to me like they cut stuff from him.
Could be.
And so again, I couldn't tell you what they should add if it wasn't or if it didn't already exist. But I do think it's like, okay, he was clearly we were meant to care about him more than I did, certainly, because it's like they set some stuff up that never gets paid off, and then he dies in a way that doesn't really feel that significant because we didn't know him that well, even though they kind of seemed like they wanted us to. So, again, those are ways in which I could conceive it being better in very small, minor ways. And I think if they did even just those three things, I think that could elevate it to equally perfect as the first. But it's interesting that you don't. So even though you seemed to sort of agree that's like, well, there were certain things that maybe were rushed, but you didn't. Apparently, that you didn't care that much, or at least not enough to think that made it inferior.
No.
Which is interesting because that's the only. It's a pretty consistent comment I've heard, even amongst people who think it's still great.
Yeah.
Is that, well, there's a few things that could have been fleshed.
And
more.
it's possible that it's just purely my alignment with it now, like in the second season, where not the characters, but just the idea of, in the first season when I watched it, I didn't have any context for it, whereas in the second season I knew what I was getting into, and it was still great. So it's like, that's a part of it.
Great all that it is to you?
Well, no, just when I say great, I mean I'm literally in the process of watching an episode while geeking out about the score in which they're using and why it fits so perfectly with the actual visuals that they're using as well. That's something that you can't get. I mean, I'm saying that unqualified. Like I don't even think you get that in like a great show like Peaky Blinders that I love. It's like Arcane has on a specifically musical level.
Climb the rope, you
On a
fool.
specifically musical level, I have not seen any show hard stop that has the level of intentionality when it comes to score that Arcane.
Well, I think intentionality when it comes to a great many other things too.
Right,
but
that's true. Yeah. So that's why I would say the second season still to me was very impressive because I don't think that part was lost.
okay.
But that's hard to maintain as a studio. I mean, like,
well, sure, but it's
especially when
also, I think, an oddly specific. Seems.
Well, I'm drawing.
It seems a minor criteria when that's not what the show is about.
Yeah, but what else would the criteria?
Well, the writing is what I think most people are going to talk about.
Of course, but I think that there's a part of a lot of people taking the writing and they go, well, if I didn't agree with the direction they went in, or if I didn't agree with and it's like, well,
I mean, I think the Vi people are kind of in that camp. Now, I'll admit, though, that they didn't go the direction I would have wanted them to, but I'm not so biased as to think that that what I wanted would have been better.
Yeah.
Like, they could have tailored it to please me exactly, and I'm not sure it would have been a better show just because they did that. I would have I don't even know that I could say that I would have, quote, liked it more, but not because it would have been better. It would have been because it confirmed all of my biases.
Yeah.
The fact that it didn't do that, it almost makes me think that it's better that way. That there are things about it that I can say, well, I wouldn't have thought that they would do that, but I think it's probably for the best that they did. Where is this guy? He's not appearing on my map. But neither am I being told to search with my googly vision. Where are you, bro? What is that? Excuse me, lads. Don't mind me. Just doing this. Why is he over there? Well, okay. No, it isn't. I am just an apparition. That's mostly true, actually. There he is. Yeah. Those are my three things. You don't. So that's. You don't think on a writing level that it needed any improvement, apparently.
Not enough.
Okay, I wouldn't say need, because need's a strong word. Could have used improvement.
Not outside of the one or two scenes I had already mentioned, where it's like, okay,
You could have shortened the jail scene by half.
yeah, you could have shortened the jail scene. You could have taken, like, I didn't think the sequence with Vi being a weird, angsty fighter.
See, some people would say that sequence was also rushed, because it's like, okay, we see her in this moment, and then she's out of it almost immediately. That was another instance of, like, they basically just communicated it via montage. Okay, I was apparently low.
That's why I say that one was one I was like, I'm not.
But if anything, that seems like it could have used more development, not less. At least that's the argument some people. Are you serious?
The story.
I mean, it showcases her descent.
Sure.
Overlord wishes to inform you that he will soon end your life in the most brutal, painful way possible. That is all.
Okay, so we can have messages. We can send messages to guys, but apparently other guys can send messages to us. Hey, Goobaloo, I like your name. I've got a rage. Gooboo! Morgan! Arrow proof? Well, this is a waste. Get close to him. Hack him up. Okay, so you're telling me not a single one of those hit him? Oh, well, not a single one of them needed to, because this guy's a weakling. I'll have your brains. Thank you.
I'll have your guts for God.
It'll be funny. I should have him send a message back to the guy he used to serve. He goes out to send me a message. Oh, I can't make him do that? I guess I could command him. Oh, but he needs to... okay, he'll infiltrate his master. I'm getting a bunch of spies already. It'd be funny. Guy sends out a death threat to me. I just capture his guy and give a death threat back.
I think you'll find you have received a death threat. No, I don't think that there was anything that stood out to me in Season 2 that I would have changed on a story level. I guess I'll say it that way.
Not even for subjective reasons. Because, I mean, I could have written basically my own fan fiction where it's like, okay, yeah, I'd like to see Jinx take over Silco's empire and take the fight to Piltover herself. I'm not saying it would have been better had they done that, but I would have found it fun and satisfying.
No, yeah, I really don't. I don't think that there was anything that I would have really adjusted. So
That's
I
interesting.
guess I am in the minority in that, but
Well, nothing wrong with that, I suppose. Oh, I keep going.
well, this may be the last.
We got to round out. What do we got? We round out 15 minutes and give it a 3. Give it an even. I'll try to finish this guy while you, I don't know, tell us something insightful.
I have been finishing up also more of the Jordan Peterson book. Which is
I
great.
still haven't.
Again, I've already said enough about that, but I mean, it's just really delightful to see him in that realm.
That dude just
So
jumped off a
comfortable.
cliff.
I think future video we ought to play
Russian roulette.
Jango Fett Bounty Hunter.
Ah, it is a good game that I don't know if I could emulate. I could probably get a PS1 emulator, or it's a PS2 emulator.
I think we may be able to actually buy it on this.
I would be surprised by that because it was a PS exclusive.
Yeah, but I mean that.
We could buy. They did make a remaster of it, although I don't know if that's out yet. Or maybe it's on Steam now or something weird. Maybe it was a PC port or something. I can't remember. I remember that game being weirdly hard in the later levels because it was from an era when they weren't afraid of that.
Way, yeah.
Another game we could play similarly was Rogue Squadron on the N64. Talk about the one vacation I had as a kid when I played that for basically a week straight. And I almost beat it too. It was one of those instances when I was basically on the last mission, but I didn't know that. And then I couldn't finish it. And then, because we didn't own it, we spent like a week staying at the house of some people we knew who had a beachfront area property. And just so happened that they had a son who had an N64 who had that game. And that's what I spent the vacation doing, was playing that game. N64 is hard to emulate.
Not with a Dolphin should be able to do it fairly easily.
Dolphin, I think, does GameCube only.
No, I know it does Wii and GameCube.
Well, because GameCube and Wii, with the Wii could play GameCube games, so that's
right.
But N64, I've heard, is one of the hardest to emulate for weird reasons. Oh, you're the. No one. This is how What's His Head also got so high level. I forgot the guy who's our guy now. Oh, I'm forgetting the name of our own people. Do you remember?
No, I do not.
Well, I feel bad now because he's one of our own high-level guys. But the way we kept losing to him was because he doesn't actually kill us. He just taunts us and then leaves. He's not even. This guy's not even that hard to kill, though. So I don't know why I'm struggling so much. Good heavenly days. Well, I'm not doing so bad right now if I can just keep this up. Good grief with all these parries. You are all very annoying. No. Not him. Get the other guy. Please don't do this to me. Is he immune to executions or something stupid? Don't do this to me!
Effort than last time, Ranger, but you can't beat me.
So yeah, this guy doesn't even kill me. He just pulls this shenanigan. Well, oh, I think yes. Doesn't count as a death either, so I can't even be released. What are your favorite songs? Since you're talking about the songs of Arcane so much, let's talk about that.
Interesting that you would say that, because I would say initial.
Well, it seems to be the thing you were down to.
The
music.
Yeah,
and it is good. I won't deny that.
The
it
initial.
Just feels to me like that's a sprinkling on top. It's not the core of the experience.
Oh, for me, no. So the first.
Sprinkling feels
really
a bit dismissive.
Was probably Sucker just because of
That's
personal
a great
reasons.
song. That's okay. Well, you want to explain that?
I will not explain that. That is something that I will unpack at a different time.
We'll unpack that in my grave.
I
did like. There was one I've seen meme compilations of like what it's how it feels to listen to the Arcane soundtrack, and the one that I thought was the best. Because a lot of them actually don't even include that song, which is weird. It seems that it's not one of the more popular, which I think is strange. But the one that did include it, it had the scene from Joker, which I don't think you've seen yet. But it's a scene that definitely fits with the song and the vibes, and I was like, okay, this guy gets it. You should watch Joker, by the way. I know I've said that before, but I mean, you still should.
I would say second, if I'm having to go just season 2.
Yes, for the sake of argument.
First, what first struck me was Sucker, but then as I listened through them and I continued listening through them, my favorite one is probably I Can't Hear It Now.
Really?
Yeah, because
okay.
The notion that a door is closing that you literally have no control over, much to your frustration, is a very compelling feeling, and I think they do that well without it being. It's a slow song without it being weak.
Certainly.
If that makes sense.
See, the trouble I have though is the songs, in my mind, fit the scenes.
Yeah.
And because I'm not that invested in Caitlyn as a character, I can't help but think of that song as being hers. And thus I'm like, it certainly fits the scene very well. I won't deny that. But the thing is, the songs are very clearly tailored for the scenes that they're in, so you can't separate them from who they're about.
Yes, but scene to scene, I would say Sucker fit the best.
Well, absolutely, yes. I wouldn't disagree with that. But But even then, that's one of the ones where it's like, okay, but I can listen to that without the scene. And because the one that's the opposite is a lot of people talk up Ashes and Blood, the song that plays.
See, I didn't like that one as much.
To me, again, it's like the song is great because of the scene it plays in. The scene is not improved by the song. The song is improved by the scene. Without the scene, I'm not as interested in the song.
Right, but I think for me, most of the story has been I think the song actually improves the scene. Like, for instance, great example, What Have They Done to Us? Powerful part.
Yeah, yes. It's such a short... the way it's used... See, the thing that I'll say is that sometimes the song, like the full-length song, you only hear like a snippet of it in the scene.
That's true.
And that's one of those where it's like, okay, hearing the song separately, there's so much more of it than they show in the scene that it feels like I can engage with it more. Similarly, actually, the song Come Play, which plays at the finale during the final fight.
Yeah.
When you listen to that separately, it's like, okay, so this is, I think I've said this before, but it's literally like this is Jinx's redemption song, and we don't hear most of it because the fighting covers most of it up. But it's literally like about her. And so listening to it afterwards, I was like, why? We should have been able to hear these lyrics. These are important. But, well, I don't know. What do you think of Spin the Wheel?
Season 1, if I can go back to season 1 real quick.
Sure.
As far as musically,
I won't stop you.
the very best song, I would say, of both season 1 and 2 is What Could Have Been.
That's hardly fair, though.
That's
not a song. That's a manifesto.
It is. It really is.
I'll admit that. But see, that's not... I can't listen to that song because of the fact that it works too well.
But see, that's why I'm saying that. What other series do you know that uses music so effectively? Because here's the thing.
I'm going too far again.
When I watched the actual production of, I think it was parts of season 2, I realized they literally were sitting down with the artists and creating songs around a scene.
Well, they did that in season 1 too. All the songs were scripted. Right. That's actually why the guy Ray Chen, who was their music advisor, who also plays pretty much anytime you hear the violin in the show, that's him.
Yeah.
He actually describes how What Could Have Been is structurally a very weird song because of the fact that it's tailored to the scene. So what you would call the bridge is the biggest moment in the song because that's when she launches the rocket.
Right.
And it kind of comes out of nowhere. It's like the song's really soft, and then suddenly it's the bridge and it's huge, and it's like, oh, okay. But of course, it is that way because they crafted it to the scene. And from what I understand, they said in season 2 they did that even more deliberately.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we're going to... Because in season 1, I think they said just about every episode had a song that was like, we're going to have a moment where this song plays over the scene, and that's what's going to happen. It's not going to be... The song's not going to be in the background. The song's going to be the main moment of the scene.
Right.
And in season 2, there's like several songs per episode. So I can understand why... When I said earlier that it's like a sprinkle on top, that may have sounded dismissive because it's more than that. But to me, it still feels like had they just produced a bunch of good songs with not as good writing, I would have not thought of that as being as special. But, oh, y'all are ruining my Christmas. I don't even know where I'm going anymore. I guess I can't disagree with you, but that song is more than a song, so I consider it in a separate class. But seriously, what do you think of Go Spin the Wheel? Because it's the most random and out of...
I thought it fit.
I actually really like it. It's one of my favorites.
I thought the other thing is...
I don't mind that kind of music more.
I was delighted, as weird as it is, I was delighted that I'm sitting here listening to this song, and I was like, oh, this is really cool, and it fits the motif. And then when they tie it to Heimerdinger, I was like, oh,
well, see, I could tell when it started singing. I was like, that's definitely the same voice actor. The funny thing, though, is I thought... Is this just what this guy sounds like? Like, is this his voice? Because he doesn't sing as though he's singing as a character.
Yeah.
It feels like he's just singing.
Yeah.
But then when I actually heard him in an interview, I was like, he doesn't sound like this at all.
Yeah.
So he's singing like this fictional character, and he does it so well that I would just thought that this is how he sings. Like, I thought that was just his voice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't hear many people talking about that one because I think it's just so stylistically different, but I don't mind that genre.
No, I really enjoy
And I actually think it's a really great song.
Yeah.
Even lyrically, I'm like, this has actually got some poignant stuff in it.
Yep. For sure.
What do you think of Victor's song?
Which one's that one? Oh, yeah. Okay. So I do have that one. I'm sorry. I do have that one in my list as well.
Of course you would.
And I wanted to. So
Have you heard the live
speaking
performance of
that
it?
song. So there's a guy who unpacks it where if you look through what it's actually saying, it's like
Oh yeah, it's Victor's song.
Well,
that's
it
why.
is, but,
That's
like-
why you can absolutely say that. I'm not being dismissive when I say that. When I say that "Come Play" is Jinx's song, it's written from her perspective,
so
and that song is very obviously written from his perspective.
the line to me is one that I go. This is why I argue
Get me
it
out of
has
here.
nothing to do with Sky disappearing because some people, okay, the weird ship people with Jason him were saying she disappears because she knows he's actually gay and like she's
That's very
slipping away into whatever.
That's
I'm like,
very stupid.
That's stupid. There's some that I would say this is more likely if you wanted to go this route, which is that as he basically goes this direction, he consumes all other
Well, yeah,
parts
he
of that.
consumes all the other people as well.
I am.
He consumes Vander. That's why after that scene, Warwick is Warwick. Purely, he's not Vander anymore. That is the name of the beast.
I would
by the
say
way.
even less. So I'm in that camp. I would say the reason why she disappears is because, in even just looking at the actual lyrics of that song.
I'd rather you not be here for what could be my final form.
Yeah. Well, no, not just that.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'd rather the did I disappoint you? Will they let me over? Like, will they even like? Will I be able to ascend to ultimate good if I make this step? If
Well,
I cross over into this.
Well, yeah, I think if it's almost
Moral
will they let me back
right.
over?
That's what I mean.
I'm gonna have to shame
And
him.
so there's a degree of him having to square with I'm crossing over a line even that I myself am realizing is a line I say I wouldn't cross, kind of, because he's now taking life to a degree.
Yeah, but he has to not die. My body's on the line now.
Right.
It's
So anyway,
I don't. Lyrically speaking, that's also one of I think the most.
like for instance, stay
It's-
your pretty eyes on course and keep the memories of who knew I was before.
Who I used- yeah.
Because now I'm having to,
I'll admit that lyrically speaking, that one probably is the most layered.
yeah, that's true.
I think it is so indelibly linked to him that it can't be. I mean, more than any other song, it's so clearly from his perspective that it just can't be separated from
Yes,
him.
that's true.
You little twerp. I was almost about to put the controller down because I thought it was just going to kill me for that. But have you heard the live performance of it? They sang it at, I believe it was the Game Awards. They had, well, it wasn't just that. They had a medley of various songs from the show performed by the actual artists. And a lot of people, I won't really explain what he does. He performs it more raw, shall we say, live. And a lot of people found that to be like well done. I'm going the wrong way, I swear again. What do you think about the French song?
I am less attached to that.
I
than a lot
like
of
it.
people
I
are.
do feel like some people.
Some
Again, I
people
think
are
it's.
really
I think people
attached.
are attached to it because of the scene.
But
It is catchy. I won't
but
deny
the French
that.
itself, like if you looked up the French,
Yeah, the translation I think is excellent. It's one of those things where it's like,
is,
of course
but
you
it's
would
like,
do that. Well, it
it
makes
just
perfect
wasn't-
sense.
Yeah, I just wasn't. It wasn't quite as
I like it.
profound as everybody was acting like it was,
Well, I'm-
in my opinion.
Sure. Again, it's a song that I think is improved by its scene. rather than the other way around.
Right.
It is catchy. Someone I thought, and I don't know, I assume it's true because it didn't seem to be faked, but evidently at the French New Year ceremony, they actually played that song. People were like, okay, France knows what's up. They're starting 2025 with Arcane music. And I was like, well, I mean, they have a right to be proud of that song.
Yeah.
All right, I think this will be the last attempt. I'll tell you this, though. A song that's not even in the show. Have you heard Blood, Sweat, and Tears yet? It's part of the extended soundtrack because it wasn't in the show. Shortly after the show, they released a cinematic because I don't know if you're aware that Mbessa's now been added to League as a character. And so they gave her own little cinematic music video, and that's the song that plays. The weirdest thing is, it's not sung by the voice actress, but it sounds exactly like the voice actress. So as the first time I heard it, I was like, I don't remember this being in the show, and I'm pretty confident this is Mbessa singing. It's not, but it sounds an awful lot like her. And again, it's clearly written to be her song. And it also really goes hard. And I'm not like wild about her as a character, but the song does definitely go hard. So you should check it out. I need to buy the soundtrack. I still need to buy the soundtrack from the first show or the first season. I don't know where to get it. Because the only place I've found it is on Amazon, and I'm like, does this money go to Riot if I buy it here? Because I'll gladly spend money that goes to Riot. I don't really want to spend money that goes to someone else. I also should be getting my art book at the end of the month.
Oh, that's fun.
Yes, it is. I bought it back in December. I had to get on a pre-order list because it won't print until the end of this month. Because apparently it's sold out that fast. All right. I don't even know where the guy is. He's right in front of me. Why? I'm clearly losing me marbles. Guy's right in front of me. Literally right in front of me. All right, we'll try this one more time and then we'll call it. I'm trying to think if there's any others. I've warmed to the song that plays during the Civica fight.
Yeah.
At first, I was like, just kind of a generic action song.
That's Paint the Town Blue, right?
No, that's the other Jinx song. It's called Renegade, even though you wouldn't necessarily recognize that. At first, I was just like, okay, it's just a high-energy fight song. And it mostly is. Maybe I've just gotten used to it. I actually... Paint the Town Blue is another one that everyone's kind of became really popular. I don't love that one as much either. What is happening? We're being attacked by flaming mutants. Heavens above.
Yes! I should warn you, I've thought about every possible way this fight can play out, and they all end up with you dead.
Good for you. Your weird kamikaze men make me uncomfortable. Ouch. Physically even. It's a little bit snagglepussy, wasn't it? I probably shouldn't have said it that way. Physically even. Does this guy have a neck beard? You do. Sword broken. My sword? Oh, I didn't know you could do that. I liked that sword. That was my Rohan sword. Well, that's sucky. I'm annoyed. But yeah, that was one of those songs where I was like, listening to it, I feel like it actually lacks the depth. It's like, okay, the parts that play during the montage are the parts that are most relevant to the plot.
Yeah.
I feel like the rest of it, I don't know. Yeah. Well, that lasted longer than I thought actually for a fluffy topic. Well, we've made progress in this area. We've got several guys on our side, and a few of them are even spies, so I guess we've done what we could.
Yeah.
And we didn't do what we couldn't.
If we can't, we won't. Yeah, we're gonna. I think we've come at a good clip where now we're taking on the towers like we ought to be. It took us a little longer in the first one to get actually rolling, but
A very long time.
How do you keep going, Calibrimble?
Ah, you know the answer to that.
I don't actually. Who's that guy? I don't remember him.
your corpse is old, very old.
Well, yeah, by this point, we've been around for several years as a corpse. I wasn't asking about motivation, pal. I'm talking about the fact that my ankles are about to fall off. Soon you'll be dragging around my stumps. Well, do you have a closer?
Not. No. I mean, not. I have another topic that would take way too long. So no, not
Well,
really.
okay then, fine.
This never stops.